Hi, it's Dennis Daly. When I was attending Indiana University, one of my favorite professors was LEROY Bannerman. He had so many stories to tell. He was the radio professor who couldn't get himself to say the word television. One of his areas of expertise centered around the Orson Welles War of the Worlds broadcast. I had him on my UPI radio show on the day before Halloween years ago and asked him why the author of the radio drama, Howard Koch, had picked the little town in New Jersey as the spot where the Martians landed.
Oh, that's quite a story. He was coming back from visiting his parents in Kingston, New York, and he was driving on the New Jersey side of the Hudson River. He stopped in at the service station to get gas, and he picked up a road map, and it happened to be a map of New Jersey, and so he unfolded this map, closed his eyes, and put his pencil down, and it landed on a little dot that was Grover's Mill, New Jersey.
It is reported that at 8:50 p.m. a huge flaming object, believed to be a meteorite, fell on a farm in the neighborhood of Grover's Mill, New Jersey, 22 miles from Trenton. The flash in the sky was visible within a radius of several hundred miles.
He was trying to decide where the Martians should land. And this seemed a good idea because Princeton University was not too far away, and Princeton had to figure a big university or observatory had to figure into it because one of the key roles in this drama is Dr. Pearson, an astronomer, who's played by Orson Welles.
Professor Pearson?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us the meaning of that scraping noise inside the thing?
It's possibly the unequal cooling of its surface.
I see. Do you still think it's a meteor, Professor?
I don't know what to think. The metal casing is definitely extraterrestrial.
Koch did not write the story. Welles did not produce the story to scare people. It was an artistic show. And could you explain why so many people didn't hear that beginning of it when it was explained, this is the Mercury Theater?
On NBC, opposite the Mercury Theater of the Air, was the top program of the day, which happened to be Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy. So most people tuned in to hear the comedy, the opening comic bit. And on this particular evening, when a new and not so popular singer was introduced, then they began to engage in that old American pastime of dial twisting, see what was going on other stations. And that's when they came across a crisis at Grover's Mill.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News. At 20 minutes before 8 Central Time, Professor Farrell of the Mount Jennings Observatory, Chicago, Illinois, reports observing several explosions of incandescent gas occurring at regular intervals on the planet Mars. The spectroscope indicates the gas to be hydrogen.
They didn't recognize it because one important element in the development of the script, which was even accentuated in all of these rewrites, was the kind of eyewitness account and the news style type of presentation, the interrupting. They were using the context of radio. They were interrupting programs, giving bulletins. And then even as the program progresses, that we even hear the Secretary of the Interior.
Citizens of the nation, I shall not try to conceal the gravity of the situation that confronts the country, nor the concern of your government in protecting the lives and property of its people.
And there was great pacing in the show. I think some of the pauses made it so plodding the way it was moving along. They were just the right length, some of those pauses between the bulletins.
Absolutely. And then, of course, there were the climactic moments of the play is when Carl Phillips is the radio reporter. and he is reporting directly from the site where the Martians landed. And suddenly the Martians emerge from their machines, and he tries to describe how hideous they look. And suddenly they start spouting out flames, and there's a ray gun and the like, and people start screaming, and he suddenly cut off the air. And then there's that long pause.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to circumstances beyond our control, we are unable to continue the broadcast from Grover's Mill. Evidently, there's some difficulty with our field transmission. However, we will return to that point at the earliest opportunity.
So this created a sense of realism about this radio broadcasting part of it, you see. You mentioned earlier about why were people fooled. These people who did not hear the beginning and did not know that it was a radio drama were accustomed to radio being like this, and they were dependent upon radio. They had faith in it.
You also had hundreds of thousands, millions of people who were living in more isolation at that time,
true.
Out in rural areas, who were listening to some of these clear channel AM stations, 50,000 watt stations, out in what we would call the sticks, and radio was their link to the outside world, and what they were hearing in the outside world wasn't very pleasant that night.
True. To go back to what you were saying at the beginning about how innocent all of this was, it was not the intent of Orson Welles to create the panic that he did. To understand that they did not believe that they had a program that was really worth broadcasting. They thought it was a pretty poor program. And they were more surprised than anyone else.
So goodbye, everybody, and remember, please, for the next day or so, the terrible lesson you learned tonight. That grinning, glowing, globular invader of your living room is an inhabitant of the pumpkin patch, and if your doorbell rings and nobody's there, that was no Martian. It's Halloween.
Professor LEROY Bannerman, Professor Emeritus of Broadcasting at Indiana University, thank you for joining us from the campus there in Bloomington and giving us an insight on why people were scared to death Halloween weekend 1938.
Well, thank you, Dennis.
He was quite a professor. I really liked him a lot, although I never really got good grades from him, but we became pretty good friends. The late Professor LEROY Bannerman at Indiana University, on the Orson Welles broadcast of War of the Worlds. I'm Dennis Daly.